Hello, I'm Richard E. Gordon and CE Dojo. Welcome to another segment in my series of solving the puzzle one piece at a time. And I took the question as one piece of that puzzle. Knowledge is power. We've all agreed upon that. Everybody out there says, yeah, knowledge is power. We know that, we accept it. But then the question becomes, is knowledge enough to make you successful in business, to make you successful in your personal life, and overall, to make you happy? I think we all want to be happy. So is it enough? That's the question I've been posing. So today I have the super great honor of having Grandmaster George Bell as my guest, and he's going to tackle this question. George and I have known each other for 30 years. It's always interesting when I do the math, and again, that makes me really old, and he was really young when we first met, college age. But it's been 30 years that we have known each other and shared knowledge and experiences in life, and he is truly a wonderful person to get to know, wonderful person to train in the arts with, the music, anything you need in life, business. He's a person that can help guide you by his experience and just his good nature of being able to see. He's a seer. He can see what needs to be done, what has to be done, and he can see how to get you there. And that's essential in life, to have someone like that in your life. So without further ado, Grandmaster George Bell.
Hey there, welcome, Richard. Thank you, Richard, for having me. I'm George Bell. Happen to be a grandmaster in Taekwondo and Hapkido and some other arts, black belt in 6 martial arts, and I teach martial arts for a living. So I'm involved with the business side of things, always looking at business ventures, and I'm also educating, teaching martial arts. I love to share as much as I possibly can of what I know about martial arts. And you know, that's not always just the physical act of doing martial arts, but you know, that's only one component, but it's also knowing how to teach, educate, as well as running the business. Each one of those are totally different. So I kind of pride myself always wanting to learn, and as well as give. So I'm glad to be here. I appreciate it.
And so with that being said, that leads us right into our question. Knowledge is power. And do you think amassing as much knowledge as you can, especially nowadays, you can get anything you want online? You can get a Harvard degree online. You can learn how to do heart surgery online. We can get at our fingertips any knowledge we want. So do you think that's enough?
No. and so now knowledge is power. I absolutely agree. And knowledge is super essential because some people fail to realize that knowledge is power. Therefore, they're not out there trying to learn. But once you learn, you have to have, there's a lot more to it. You have to have good habits, positive habits to know how to implement that knowledge. There are some people that have a lot of knowledge about a lot of stuff and they don't really implement it too well. Some of them have multiple degrees, you know, and then you might have someone that just barely has a bachelor's, if that at all, but he is excellent at implementing things and taking things to task. So that being said, you know, it's really about having the knowledge to know how to implement things. So it goes back to the word habits, you know, and having positive habits. And I think I think that's a learning process too. So to learn how to have good habits and being disciplined to know how to do that as well. Because even the best of people need to be reminded sometimes, even when they are very good at something, even when they have good habits. You know, we all kind of fall by the wayside a little bit and need a little kick in the butt. So regardless, the knowledge is great, but then you have to know how to implement that knowledge. You need to have some positive habits if you want to become successful with that knowledge. And you just have to, and it's the same, I kind of related a little bit or partially to the same concept of an elite athlete or a CEO or a high-level business person. You know, to become successful, first you have to be able to practice something and do something over and over and over. So you have to first learn that from someone and then implement it in a drill regimen. And then you have to learn how to apply it. And then you also have to, so what that does right there is put you in the structure of developing that positive habit, how to become successful or good with that habit. And then you have to put that into application and also mindset. Mindset's another part. So, you know, and you have to have certain type of mindsets do extremely well with knowledge, and certain type of mindsets just hoard the knowledge and don't really do much with it, you know? So to each his own, but depending on what your goals are, you know, you have to look at the overall picture of what you're trying to achieve, and then that's how you have to pursue things, in my opinion.
Yeah, awesome. Very, very well stated. And you covered lots of key ingredients in there and lots of key pieces to that puzzle. And that's the beauty of exploring topics, is because people, like I say, know in most cases, you're right, some people have not appreciated the benefits of knowledge, but those that do, they think sometimes that that's it. And there's so many different pieces. And, you know, you mentioned repetition and habits and discipline. And we can also throw in, you know, confidence and all of the other attributes into that. And so every time I start stacking that question, I continue to add to it. And I'm like, wow, there really are a lot of pieces to this puzzle, not just even like if you discuss confidence, like what's confidence? And confidence has a lot of tree branches as well. And it's essential to be part of. But yeah, knowledge without repetition is one that you started with, because I think that's key. And a lot of people get away from that. They especially think, if I amass the knowledge, then I could cut out these steps. And you see a lot in business. People like come to a business, or you hire them in your business. Oh, I have so much knowledge that I need to be like the CEO of your company. And it's like, slow down 1 second. And so that's where the repetition comes in. So wouldn't you say that, you know, you can kind of cut some rungs off the ladder, but you can't get to the top of the ladder with just knowledge alone without the repetition and hence experience. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. You know, I really believe so. Uh, to preface it, I was a former athlete at the U.S. Olympic Training Center, and then in 2 different Olympic trial processes, you know, 1992 and then again in 2000, and for the sport of Taekwondo. And I've seen a lot of elite athletes, guys that rose to the absolute top. And myself, I was a very high level athlete within the United States and very, very competitive throughout the world. That being said, anyone that's successful, they all have very similar attributes. There may be some things that separate one from another, but they all have very, very similar attributes. And that is, one, their discipline. Okay, they're willing to sacrifice, to do what's needed to, one, acquire the knowledge, two, to implement that knowledge in a form of repeating things over and over, repetition. And they do that day in, day out, day in, day out. It's just an ongoing cycle where the average person would be very bored. Okay, I'm getting sick of this. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, that's fine, but don't expect the same results. So whenever you look at highly successful people, business, sports, or whatever, there's going to be some things that are very similar with their personality types. These are the people that are willing to do what it takes, to sacrifice, to work hard, to do something over and over. They take that knowledge and now they're repeating something over and over and over again. And this is something that you see with every high-level athlete. And of course, what separates one high-level athlete from another might be going into the next stages, such as mindset, okay, or basically, you know, depending on what sport or what activity or what skill set you're talking about, sometimes it's just some people are a little bit smarter at some things than others. Doesn't mean the other person's not smart. It just means this person's very smart and at what they're doing. And they just know how to implement it a little bit better than the other person, you know, but mindset has a lot to do with it. If you have a certain type of mindset, you have that never give up attitude, you know how to constantly keep on going, regardless if you get knocked down, you know how to get back up, you know, and commit to something, you can definitely achieve and make some very memorable accomplishments in your life, personally or in business. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, a lot of, again, amazing points there. You're talking about bringing in the discipline and the consistency. So again, that's the repetition, and that comes only through discipline. And so yes, you can have the knowledge on how to do the move, how to do the business plan, but without the discipline, and then the key is the sacrifice. You got to be, every top level business, every top level is willing to sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears, whatever it takes. And then you transitioned into the mindset, which is a very key ingredient to that, and very essential in any aspect of life, because the mindset goes with the discipline. If you don't have the mindset, then you're not going to be willing to go the extra mile and do what it takes. So that's definitely a very consistent flow in what you're saying. And looking at that, you talked about at a level, again, and this could be any level, and you're just stacking it up to the highest level to get people to the next level. But what you stated, and the way I see it and the way I look at it, and give me your thoughts on this, I think there's a flip side to knowledge, whether it's the book knowledge, the training knowledge. Basically, again, where that mindset shifts in, to me, it's like I call it the street knowledge. That these people have a street knowledge. And I use the example of anybody, especially like a Michael Jordan. No one taught Michael Jordan to be Michael Jordan. There was no book. There was no playbook. There was no training manual to train Michael Jordan to be Michael Jordan. He just had the mindset, and he had the street knowledge that he brought to the knowledge that was given to him by his coaches and by the mentors in his life. But he had brought that little street knowledge, whether it's the street basketball hoop, the street fighting, the street in business, you're brokering in high school selling M&Ms to your classmates. So that's the kind of the flip side of, like you're talking mindset. I call it the street knowledge. Do you see it like that, or what kind of terms do you use for it?
I think very similarly. So there's a mindset that I find, with my experiences, I find it's something that's typically innately within a person. Now, when it comes out can vary. Maybe it may not ever come out. But for some people, it's early on. These people are driven. They are very competitive. They're on a different level when it comes to the mental side. And they are bringing that to whatever they're doing technically, right? Michael Jordan, he is, if you've seen the Last Dance and a little bit into him and the Bulls and all that kind of stuff, it's like the guy was just like on a freaking different level when it comes to his mind. And I don't think this is something that can be taught. Yes, you can teach people things, but it's not something that can be taught. You have it or you don't have it. Now, I know people disagree with me with that, okay? But to me, it's something that you can definitely enhance out of a person, meaning that some people, they have it, they just don't know they have it yet.
Right.
Okay, and they may be, that's where educating someone, motivating, okay, and look at, I'll go back to the Last Dance, and it's because it's fresh in my mind. Mm-hmm. Look at Steve Kerr, okay, and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was always on him. And then, Stephen Kerr gained his respect when he didn't back down to Michael Jordan. And even there was a game where Kerr was missing everything that particular game, okay? But they gave Kerr the last shot, okay? So they gave Kerr, and he made the shot. Go figure, okay? But the thing is that each person has their own little history, their own little background. Mm-hmm. And you're taking a guy that may be a little bit different or a lot different than Michael Jordan, but we're all on the same team. We're functioning as a unit here. And each one of these people have something to bring out to offer. And he just wanted to maximize what he can get out of each one of these people, regardless if you like that or dislike that. So what did he do? He kind of pushed people to a certain limit, but it doesn't always have to be pushed. You could be encouraged or however. But what I'm getting at is that sometimes if you're just able to be a great coach, a great motivator, a great this or that, you can help a person that has this inside of them that just doesn't know, and let it come out. And then next thing you know, this person will have that same desire, that same passion, that same drive to achieve whatever they're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. So if you were to relate that as, being that street smarts or a little bit, I think not I think a lot of people have it, more people than not. You would think habit. It's just that not everyone has. Some people are self-motivated, okay, to have it.
Yeah.
Some other people need to be coached and to be able to have it come out. Either way, it's the same. It just happens at different times and different levels, right? So, you know, myself working with athletes over the years, I've worked with guys that were highly skilled, that you knew that they had it in them, but you had to figure out how to get it out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the right situation at the right time brought it out of them. You know, sometimes it was like, I'm one of these type of coaches. When I used to coach the sport of Taekwondo, I knew how to deal with my athletes. So one athlete, I might have to be a drill sergeant to.
Right.
The next person, I'm not a drill sergeant at all. I just talk kindly. I don't get in their face or all this, that. I have one of my athletes, he's in the finals at collegiate nationals. This is for gold or silver. He just finished winning his bronze medal match and he got hurt. Okay. Next thing you know, he didn't win a fight. Okay. He just wanted to be satisfied taking the silver. And I didn't push him. First thing that went through my brain is, I'm going to strangle you. Okay. You know, I was like, no, you have to fight. But that's not what I said. I gave him a story. I told him about myself because it happened to me too, yeah. You know, in some way or another. And I talked about a time where, you know, Clarence Franklin and Barry Partridge, they just got up on me and they said, what are you doing? You know, and I went out there and performed twice as good as the fight before, right? But it took someone giving me a little bit of motivation. So I fundamentally gave them a story, told him the story of something that happened to me. And then I said to him, it's your decision. Okay, you decide if you want to fight or not, okay? And he came back to me, he says, I'm gonna do it. I said, okay, just try your best, and that's all that matters. But for him, that was a pivotal moment where he was able to dig deep. He was able to look at himself and say, you know what, I need to do this. That same kid, you know, that was a collegiate national championship. I've been teaching him since he was 16. I can't remember how old he is now, but he's extremely well off, very highly successful business person. Mm-hmm. And he tells me all the time, you know, certain things when it comes to that side of things, it's because of the things that I did for him back then that helped him realize what he was capable of. And now he uses that in other sides of his life, business or whatever. So it can totally be, you can bring it out of people. And like I said, there's more than one way. There's definitely more than one way. It's just, that's why I say if someone's a really good coach is not someone that teaches you a technique. Anyone can do that. A real good coach knows how to get into the mind of their athlete or of the person that they're trying to assist, right? And then they know how to bring out the best of that person, not just physically, but mentally, physically, spiritually, however it is, they know how to bring out the best of that person. And that's what a good coach does. They see the bigger picture of things, not the short-term picture, but the long-term picture.
Oh, absolutely. And well stated. And you took me into the segue of the next couple of things I wanted to ask you. So all along, you're covering all of the steps in the knowledge picture. And what you displayed here is the application. You displayed exactly how the application of knowledge works, because all your knowledge is not going to do any good if you don't apply it to your student and then they don't apply it to the match correctly. So that's the application of it. Then also what I've come up with is working and coaching with people in business and in sports and in the martial arts, law enforcement. I finally realized, and it took me a while to realize this because people started asking me, what did I wish I had learned as a young man? And I said, be you for you. And so with that is the next question. So what I began to realize is that I have to find the goal that is my goal. Because oftentimes, especially when we're young and we're impressionable, whether it's in the sports world or the corporate world, or say our dad's a banker, he's going to influence us, whether directly or indirectly, that we're going to be a banker. Maybe we hate banking. You know, maybe that's not in our blood, but we kind of feel pressured and we can do well at it. So I began to realize that people have to choose their goal on their own. You know, basically you have to choose your own individual goal. And you see that in athletics. You see people, you know, the dad and the mom are pushing the kid to be an athlete and a competitor. And the kid is like, I don't want none of it. His heart's not in it. He might have the ability. So I started focusing on, like you were saying, is the be you for you. And then that's the two flip questions I'll give to you. which you stated is one, the importance of having that goal, not the goal for you, like, oh, this is my goal for my coach George or my master, but this is my personal goal. And then also the coach and mentor, the importance of them. And a lot of people sometimes think, well, I'm good and I'm doing well. I'm successful in business. I'm doing great in athletics. I'm doing great in my life. I don't need a coach or mentor telling me what to do. Especially when you got an ego involved, which we all do. It's like, don't tell me what to do. I got it going on. I got my business. I got my cars. I got my boat. Back it up. So just talk a little bit on the mentors and coaches. Do you feel they're important? And goals. How important are they in the whole scheme of this?
Mentors and coaches, I think, are highly important for highly successful people. In other words, everyone doesn't need to have them if they're not driven. Okay, but if you want to be driven, you want to be successful. One of my mentors, he tells me all the time. He says, George, make sure you keep at least 5 important, influential people in your life. Okay, as mentors / coaches. Make sure that they are equally or more so successful than you in whatever aspect of life that they do. So, and he says, don't pick a whole bunch of people that do the same thing you do. Okay, at least 1 or 2. Yeah. So that said, it could be a lawyer, a doctor, an entrepreneur, a CEO, whomever. But different people that when you talk to them, when you, every time you're just so pumped up and driven from talking to them. It's like, I just want to, after talking to them, just go out and just get something done. It's so important to have these people in your life. If one of these people can be a very good friend, that's even better. Yeah. And having a mentor, you never know everything. We never know everything.
Correct.
And so that's going back to that learning process, right? Mm-hmm. So having someone that's been there before you that understands this aspect of business or a sport or personal life or whatever, and they can give you their perspective or idea. Because the more successful you are, it's not about necessarily taking the exact idea that someone gives you. Okay, it's about taking the concept of that idea and making it work for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because everything's a little different for everyone, right?
Right.
So, and that's what it really comes down to, is you do need to have a good coach. I would never been able to achieve what I achieved without training with Dr. Young from North Carolina, that's trained Olympians from Korea and high-level people from the United States. I would never achieve what I have achieved if I haven't trained at the U.S. Olympic Training Center with Olympic coach Han-Won Lee, a former Olympian himself and an Olympic coach, and a highly successful business person. He's one of my mentors that I talk to. So these are kind of people that you have to have around. I would not been able to achieve things if I have not, at some point in my career, been associated with certain people that can guide me on the right path. And then you have to figure out how to fit certain things to make it part of you. Right. So it's not like you're trying to be a mini me of that person. You're trying to be your own person, but there's certain things that they're going to give you that can put you on that path in a very highly successful way, no matter what. So I 100% agree with that. And especially, like I said, on the business side, or personal side, you should have mentors. You are coaches that can, the word life coach is used a lot nowadays. I usually use the term mentor on the side and coach on the sports side. But regardless, to me, they're the same. You need to definitely have that. That's super important. As it relates to goals, wow. Goals are definitely important in life. And also as an educator, so I've taught school and things of that nature, high school, and I'm always amazed of how many people don't have goals. So, and it's extremely important to have goals. if you want to see yourself go from point A to point B to C and D and so forth. You set short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals. So when I train athletes, the very first week I get a new athlete, and these are typically people that are black belts already coming to me. The first thing I do is train them. I see what they're about. I try to figure out their mindset. And then the first thing I ask them is their goals. Then as soon as I ask them, they tell me whatever. Then I ask them to write those down or print those out. And I want a written version of their short-term, long-term, and short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals. Okay, then we sit down and talk about it. And then we talk about how are we going to achieve this? Okay, because I want to make it tangible for them. And goals are super important. As in life, business ventures, goals are super important. You have to have goals. Without goals, you can't achieve not even a fair percentage of what you think you like. You know, so you have to have these goals. The short-term ones are getting you, they're like baby steps, okay? Sometimes you have to take a step backward and then take 2 steps forward. But they're like baby steps. And in that intermediate goal, you're seeing, okay, now I'm starting to see some rewards from all this hard work. And then all of a sudden you reach that long-term goal. But when you reach that long-term goal, then it's either, now you have to reassess. Yeah. You have to reassess. Is there another goal that you would achieve? Or do you want to ride the wave? So what I mean by ride the wave, I learned this from another successful businessman. Actually, my student that I told you about that was 16, that's now a highly successful businessman, his father. And he says, George, learn to ride the wave. So basically, you've reached that pinnacle. You've done what you have to do. So you have to know when to get off that wave and go to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Now, the next thing doesn't mean it's something totally different. It could be. Right. It could be something that's on another tangent of what you were already like. It could be the same exact kind of concept, but maybe a different way of aspect of it. Or it could be something totally different. But you need to learn to ride the wave, because otherwise you end up getting stuck. Okay? And you end up getting stuck. And if you talk to highly successful business people, you'll find that, yes, you hear that they're a successful business person, but if you ever realize how many different things they have their hands in, it's ridiculous. So it's like this person might be into real estate, but yet they're into this and they're into this. And now you talk to them, it's like, how does this person know so much about this, and this, and this? Because at some point or another in their careers, they knew how to ride a wave, but that didn't diminish or take away the knowledge that they gained in something. It just added more, to it. I do this with my martial arts. I own a manufacturing, a gi manufacturing company for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and now I'm going into something different. So and then from running gyms to doing private lessons to what you can name it. So, and I try to go on a path that I feel that's best for me. But when I decide to do it, I have to go wholeheartedly into it. I can't just jump off one and go into another aspect of something without doing my due diligence, my research, my homework. And then when it's time to go into it, I have to give 100% commitment and try my best. No matter what, the objective is to be successful. And you still have to have goals to do that, right? So, so goals get to a certain point where you reach you reach that long-term goal. Either you recess and make another long-term goal that might be on the same plane, or you jump and ride that wave and kind of go to the next wave, and then you start moving up again. So in something, and highly successful people can do that. Why? Because of their habits. Why? Because of repetition. Why? Because of so many different positive attributes that they have. They're just repeating it. They're just repeating what they're doing and applying it to these different things. And it makes for a very knowledgeable person in the long run. So I definitely agree. Goals are so important, especially if you want to achieve something in life. And 2, mentors and coaches are extremely important, because as soon as we think that we know everything, that's when things are going to start going downhill, because you're going to become complacent and static and stagnant. So all these things, negative things, will start happening. And you have to always stay on your toes and be aware and it's always good to have someone keep you in check, even if it's just a monthly conversation with a friend. It's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I need to reassess a couple things. Doesn't mean you change everything. Just basically they're making sure that, even if they know that they're trying this or not, they're just keeping you in check because you value the information and knowledge that they're sharing with you. And that's how you're learning.
Excellent advice. And so, yeah, you touched upon the goals, and then, like you say, focus on the goal, have a particular goal. And I see that a lot, unfortunately, in people too. They reach the goal of whether it's a business success or success in a pursuit, and then they think that's the ultimate goal. And then they become frustrated, they become stagnant. And then, like you say, you have to have that stacked goal. What's your next goal when you become successful in business? Are you going to maintain it? Are you going to sell it? Are you going to live on the beach? So there's got to be a bigger goal built in than that goal. So that's real key when you say that. And along the way, you have to have people help you. You have to have people that know the way. So if you're trying to open up your fifth business, or you're trying to open up a national real estate business, you're not going to go to your buddy who, works at the convenience store, who's great to hang out with and play pool with. You're not going to ask him, what are the pros and cons of going national with your company? He might give you a great little story, but he's not exactly the person that's going to give you the knowledge you need. And that's where like you say, I always use mentor and coach interchangeably too. I know people get bent out of shape because they have all of these definitions, but yeah, someone's going to coach you along the way, mentor you. Basically, someone's going to help you along the way. But again,
Yes.
You need a specific goal. So if you go to your coach and you go to your mentor and you say, hey, I want you to help me because I want to do good things. And they're going to be like, what does that mean? How can I help you do good things? What does that mean? Do you want me to help you write a book? Do you want me to help you travel the world? Then I could help you. Then I could get more in the neighborhood of what you want. And then you tied it right back into the habits, the repetition. So yeah, you truly live these steps, and it's been great for you sharing, because I know this is going to help some people. Some people, it's just right, and it's just going to hit them right, and they're going to say, yeah, this is what I need. This is the knowledge I need to help me be successful. Because knowledge without all of this, like you started, is not really going to get you to your goal. And again, being specific, like I tell people, if you want to learn to fly a plane, you have to have the specific knowledge. Learning every World War II plane that was fought and shot down in 1942 is not going to get you any closer to flying a plane. You're going to be a great hit at parties, but right. So how many times do we see people that have this great knowledge, they get distracted in the weeds because it's not going to help them with their goal? All this is great knowledge, but how is that going to help you sell stuff in the Chinese market? This knowledge, you need to know the market and the goal specific knowledge. So again, you did an awesome job just tying it all together for people based on your experience, based on your knowledge, and based on the application that they're now going to have to do. So just in summation, give me one quick tip now, how you can help somebody. And I know it's hard to do in one tip, but it's always good to be able to just one tip.
If I have to give one tip, I would really say be open to learn. A lot of people have a very linear approach to many things, and their mind is set, and they're not very open. Mm-hmm. And if you're open to listen to people, just be open to learn. This goes back to what I just said. If you're open to listen to someone that knows more than you, that could help you, you know what? They're going to probably give you one tip or two tips that you can implement, and bam, something goes off and something happens. And it's like, wow. And then maybe a light bulb goes off in your head. Yeah. And okay, or it could be in a physical act of learning a sport or a martial art or something of that nature, or how to grow in your business. Just be willing to learn, because if you're willing to learn, don't let ego get in the way. Don't let yourself, in any way, shape, or form get in the way, and make sure that the source of learning, be willing to learn, is also some credible sources. You know, not everybody, as you stated earlier, is going to be a credible source, but that's, you know, as long as they're trying to get some knowledge from a credible source, or sometimes they're not trying to get knowledge, but you should be open to receive knowledge, you know. So just be willing to learn. And then when I say that, that's not talking about book smarts all the time. That's not necessarily going to get a college degree, you know, go get your MBA, do this, do that. Sometimes you can go get, you know, 3 different degrees, and that's not going to help you be successful in business. It may help you, but it may not. So be willing to learn. And if you think about those, like I said, 5 highly successful people as mentors around you, and let's say you're willing to learn from these people and listen to what they say, you're probably going to be in decent shape if you have some good habits, you know. So where if you're very stubborn, you know, then things can have a lot of bumps along the way, you know, and maybe that's part of the learning process, but always be willing to learn.
And that's a great summation to all the knowledge you share. Be willing to learn. So just start there, and then all the rest will fall into place like you mapped out. Again, awesome always spending time with George Bell. We've known each other, like I said, for 30 years, and we can go on for hours and hours. So this is just a little piece of the iceberg to try and help you and give you some insight into how to be successful from a highly trained athlete, business individual, entrepreneur, and just a worldly person. So if you want to follow up, reach out to me. I'll hook you up with George. He's located in the Arizona area. So if you're fortunate enough to be in Arizona, reach out to him, get with him, talk with him, put him in your circle. Like he was saying, you need those people in your circle. And again, as part of our knowledge in life, and we're both teachers, we're both just by nature, we're givers. So what is important is to be open to learn. If you come open to learn and humble, we'll be more than happy to sit down over a cup of coffee and talk with you. And then just go from there. And it kind of feeds us as well when someone's willing to learn. So take the time, reach out to me. I'll hook you up with George. It'll definitely get you more information. Because like I say, when I do these, people come back and say, wow, I wish there was so much more I can get. Absolutely. This isn't designed to give you the whole secret to success. This is just to kind of give you a little insight into what you need. So be willing to learn, have goals, have good habits. You know, that's where you can start right now on your own, you know, and then we can go from there and help you stack that to be successful in whatever your chosen field is. So George, thank you for your time. It's always a super pleasure chatting with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richard. Same here. I could talk to you for hours. So I appreciate you having me, and hopefully your followers, your listeners here on this Zoom meeting can get something out of it. And I'm an open book. If anyone wants to hit me up, please talk to Richard and he'll get you in contact with me.
I appreciate that. Peace out. Be you for you.
Thank you.